Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a dramatic collision between massive geopolitical ambitions and one of the world's most fragile, irreplaceable ecosystems. The location? Great Nicobar Island, which is the absolute southernmost territory in the Andaman and Nicobar chain.
It really brings us to this incredible intersection of defense, economics, and nature. So, what exactly happens when a nation's most ambitious strategic project collides head-on with its most fragile ecosystem? To truly understand the stakes here, we first need to understand the island itself.
Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to Galathea Bay. What you're dealing with here are unbroken monsoon rainforests stretching all the way to the horizon. Now, this isn't just a picturesque landscape, it is a UNESCO biosphere reserve packed with endemic life, meaning, species found literally nowhere else on Earth. Because islands like this have been isolated over immense geological time, they're evolutionary gold mines. We are still discovering creatures here today. Things like the Great Nicobar Crake, which is a bird that hasn't even been formally described yet, or the Lycodon irwini, a newly discovered species of wolf snake, found as recently as 2025. It's an ancient, living, breathing jewel of tropical biodiversity.
And that richness, it absolutely doesn't stop at the shoreline. Beneath the waves, researchers have recorded 309 distinct species of scleric tinian. Those are the hard, reef-building corals surrounding this island. These reefs form the very foundation of a complex marine biology that has thrived here completely undisturbed for millennia.
Which brings us to our first section, the master plan. A staggering 81,000 crore transformation. Now, Great Nicobar isn't just ecologically significant, it is geographically pivotal. India is actively looking to secure its presence in the Indo-Pacific region. Why? Well, it's about countering foreign pressures, specifically what's often called China's string of pearls strategy, and securing vital shipping lanes to solve the Malacca dilemma. To achieve this, the government, along with the engineering firm AECOM, designed a massive 30-year blueprint. The sheer scale is breathtaking. We're talking an international container transshipment terminal, a dual-use civil and military airport, a 450-megawatt gas and solar power plant, and a massive greenfield township spanning over 166 square kilometers. The government argues this is absolutely crucial to build economic strength, create hundreds of thousands of jobs, and definitively secure India's strategic leverage in the ocean. But let's see how this geopolitical ambition sparks a fierce environmental conflict.
Part 2, the toll. Erasing the ancient rainforest. This number, it's jarring. 964,000. That is the official government estimate of the trees slated to be felled for this project. And here's the deeply concerning part for ecologists. Independent scientists warn that this official figure might actually be a severe underestimate. They argue that the forest density in parts of Great Nicobar is way higher than the government assumed, meaning the true loss could potentially run into the millions of trees. In total, 130 square kilometers of primary tropical evergreen forest will be permanently cleared. To put that into perspective, an area larger than Mumbai's sprawling Sanjay Gandhi National Park is going to be deforested. And why does this matter to all of us? Well, in an era of accelerating climate change, signing away an ancient carbon sink of this magnitude means destroying an irreplaceable repository of the planet's ecological history. It's a complex ecosystem that simply cannot be revived once it's gone.
Let's shift gears a bit to Galathea's giants, the leatherback turtles. Now, what's really interesting about this is that the bay itself sits right in the crosshairs of the proposed transshipment port. This specific bay happens to be one of the most important nesting sites in the entire northern Indian Ocean for the giant leatherback sea turtle. Every winter, nearly 500 nests of these ancient giants are recorded right on the silvery sands of the Galathea River mouth. And the biological network they represent is mind-blowing. After nesting, these massive creatures swim across the ocean to the waters of Australia or travel the exact opposite direction to the coast of Africa. They've been doing this for millions of years, connecting Great Nicobar to the rest of the globe. And this brilliantly illustrates the hearts of the conflict. Previously, this area was entirely protected as the Galathea Bay Wildlife Sanctuary, but it was specifically denotified to allow for construction. The proposed port blueprints show massive breakwaters that will block close to 90% of the bay's mouth. This leaves these incredible ocean-crossing turtles with just a tiny 300-meter gap to reach their nesting beaches, forcing them to navigate amidst massive cargo ships, intense noise, artificial light, and, unfortunately, inevitable pollution.
Moving on to Part 3, Human Cost and Tectonic Danger.
We have to pause on this massive number.
350,000. Beyond the flora and fauna, we have to look at the people, because this island is far from empty. The planned cities are projected to bring an influx of over 350,000 new inhabitants to Great Nicobar. Currently, the island is home to around 1,761 indigenous individuals. This includes the Shompen, a nomadic hunter-gatherer tribe living in voluntary isolation. Experts and global NGOs are raising serious alarms that this massive population explosion poses a critical threat. Because they have little to no immunity to outside infectious diseases, 39 international experts recently warned that this exposure could lead to mass deaths, quite literally describing the development as a potential death sentence for the tribe. And then there's the geological reality. Great Nicobar sits right on one of the most volatile seismic zones on the entire planet. Back during the devastating 2004 earthquake and tsunami, the coastline of this island permanently subsided. It sank by roughly 4.5 meters. The famous lighthouse at Indira Point, which used to be well above the high tide line, now stands completely surrounded by the ocean. Critics point out the sheer risk here, investing tens of thousands of crores into a massive concrete port on a fault line that experiences an earthquake almost every single week.
Which brings us to our final section, mitigation measures versus reality.
So the crucial point here is impartially mapping out the debate between the official safeguards and the scientific pushback. The government actually proposes compensating for the forest loss by planting over 261 square kilometers of trees in the state of Haryana. But ecologists point out that trying to replace an ancient island rainforest by planting trees in a dry mainland state hundreds of miles away, well, it's a bit like replacing a coral reef with a sandbox. Then the government plans to translocate over 16,000 coral colonies away from the construction. Marine biologists warn that translocation at this massive scale is largely unproven and leaves thousands of deeper colonies at extreme risk. Finally, they're mandated to geotag and save specific trees that have endemic owl nests. Critics highlight a major flaw here. Saving a few isolated trees while clear-cutting a million trees around them destroys the owl's actual habitat network anyway. Now, despite these deep environmental concerns, the project has officially cleared its major legal hurdles. The National Green Tribunal, after reviewing the clearances, dismissed fresh challenges. They, along with the government agencies, maintain a very firm stance, stating, "The project is a carefully planned initiative with inbuilt safeguards that address environmental concerns while advancing national interests." The core, undeniable argument from a strategic perspective is that India simply cannot afford to leave such a vital location undeveloped, while geopolitical competitors race ahead, and they firmly believe the long-term defense and economic benefits outweigh the ecological toll. And that leaves us with the ultimate high-stakes question to ponder about the price of progress. Can strategic dominance and ecological preservation truly coexist on Great Nicobar? Or does securing the geopolitical future of a nation inevitably mean sacrificing a piece of its ancient, irreplaceable past? It's a complex, incredibly tense situation playing out right now in the Andaman Sea. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.